After so many years of not knowing what was wrong with what I felt, or with anything really, I finally figured out something. I think I know exactly what is happening. This is the unfortunate truth. The world we live in, it, it isn't real. What I mean by this is that all of this is just constructed. We have essentially no more ties to nature. Depending on where you live, the extent to which this is true might differ, but in general, there's a tendency to become less and less natural. So why should this be a problem? Well, the truth is, we have become addicted to society. What do I mean by this? What I mean that we've become so exceedingly dependent on this society that we have lost our individuality. We've eventually sold our souls, so to speak. We lose our souls in this, our passion, our everything, our very being. It is very easy to just fall into this pit that is society. We need to stop disregarding the individual. We need to stop disregarding what is most natural to us, which is peace, cooperation, and really letting everyone thrive. Not filtering out and saying, just adapt, but supporting everyone, supporting each other. As a good friend of mine once said, the only distinctive feature of humans is that they think overly highly of themselves. Hence, we have to overcome being human. That does not mean no longer to be humane. The contrary. Our insisting that society was more important than the individual, and instead of seeing that they're both equally relevant, and are in fact ultimately manifestations of the same procedure, that is what this really meant. Overcoming these things. Overcoming the idea that individuality and societal belonging were opposites, because they're not. I hereby proclaim society through the individual. A society through the individual should make use of the individuality of each and every person and turn that into its asset. This is exactly what society should be and what it used to be back when we were more natural. However, to everyone's misfortune, this is no longer the case. We have become addicted to competition, addicted to a game where you try to defeat others, where you try to be better. This cannot be the goal. Everyone wants to become something, but they don't realize they already are something. They are themselves, and they are in fact forever nothing more but themselves. Their actions and their thoughts can only ever be a projection of what is truly them. We aren't just the sum of our actions, thoughts, and intentions. We are more than that. We are something beyond the sensible, that is beyond what can be felt. Well, actually, put more accurately, it may not be visible, but it is feelable. What I mean by this is that there exists an asset that so far we're using incorrectly. Emotions are not a state of being, but rather its extents. They tell us what's going on. There's a thing called intuition, and many people think that intuition is something metaphysical, maybe even something spiritual. But this is false. Emotions are just another sense. They tell us a lot, And too many people either disregard emotions or regard them too highly, acting impulsively out of emotions as if they were a state of being. It's the same as saying that we should trust optical illusions. It's actually the exact same naivety, and yet they both feel heavily different to many people. Why is that? That can only be social conditioning, because purely logically, they are the same thing. In particular, humans are irrational, not because they have emotions, but because they use emotions the wrong way. This is what I suggest. What I suggest is to fundamentally change, to be not humans, but more evolved from that. It's nice to know that we were humans and all, but maybe it's time to grow out of it, grow out of the stage, because otherwise, our existence might forever be childish. I mean, the existence as a society. And in fact, when I say society, I'm referring to the whole world. I'm not referring to individual, quote unquote, individual societies, since that way of perceiving things is very wrong in today's globalized world. What I wish is that people just use their conscience and aren't afraid to do so, instead of relying on the opinions of others to form their truths. Rely on your own mind and your senses, because, trust me, they've got a very different story to tell than what you think you know. You know there's something wrong. You don't know what it is. So it can be very compelling to act impulsively, but that cannot be the solution. The only solution is logic, and reaching logic can only be done by overcoming being human.